making me do so much editing.
I'm sorry.
No, it's
Yeah.
my audio was like trash last time because I kept moving my mouth away from like the phone. So it kept like not picking up what I was saying and it would glitch. So I have this thingy over my phone right now, so it will pick up what I am actually saying, which is nice.
That's
um,
nice.
yes, it's all about experimenting during these first 3 episodes, but I'm hoping that this is better quality. I'm assuming it will be, minus Nick
Boy.
making me do work. I'm kidding, it's fine. um, back to The Office. Do you have a favorite character from The Office?
Dwight by far. He's
Really?
hilarious. Yeah, he's funny. He's not relatable. He's weird and he's best character by far.
Do you have a least favorite character?
I gotta think about that one for a bit. I'd probably say okay, yeah, Gabe. I don't really like him. He was annoying.
Yeah, that's fair. He's kind of weird. Like, weird in a bad way, not weird in a good way like Dwight, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, everyone else was kind of, like, weird in a good way. Except, I don't think, like, Pam and Jim were super weird. They were just cool.
Yeah.
What do you think about Michael? Like, his character?
I think the first season writing for his character is pretty weak, but after that it gets better. And he is very, very weird and unprofessional. And hence why The Office is so funny.
What do you think about, like, his and Dwight's relationship, like, their friendship?
It's not the greatest based on just friendship. I mean, it's better in the end. But at some points it is very much just someone following someone else. Like,
Right.
yeah. It's pretty funny, though.
Yeah. Do you think that the end gave justice to the relationship finally being like
For
determined
Dwight?
and they're no, Dwight and Michael, like their friendship. Do you think the ending of The
I
Office
mean,
like tied it all together, or it kind of like didn't really make sense?
I think they tied it all together because he came back to be his best man for his wedding. I thought that was really sweet when I first watched it. So yeah, I would say that they kind of tied that bit together. Yeah.
That's good. I feel like it's really hard to tie a bunch of stuff together at the end of a show, but I think that The Office did it in a pretty beautiful way.
I mean, there are some weak points I just don't remember, but yeah.
I don't as much as I really loved Dwight and Angela's relationship, I feel like it didn't really make sense, like their relationship like timeline. I feel
That's
like
fair.
things got really weird and random just to kind of make the show work. But
Yeah,
it was like good. It wasn't like absolutely a horrible train wreck. But
thankfully not.
I feel like there
Yeah.
were some like odd points.
Mm,
Also, like with the what is it? Was he the mayor? What was he?
he was a senator.
The senator. I feel like that was kind of a really weird thing.
I guess I wanted to tie it up for Oscar, so they gave him somebody.
Yeah, that's true. I think I can't remember because I haven't like refreshed my brain on The Office in a couple months, because I finished it a couple months ago. I couldn't really bring myself to just go through it all again. I mean, I would probably now. I like to forget stuff before rewatching a show, because otherwise it's just like, oh, I know what's gonna happen. This is this.
Yeah, that makes sense, yeah.
When you like forget some stuff, it's kind of like, oh wait, like I completely forgot this happened. This is really cool.
It brings
guess
that initial shock value.
Yeah.
Shock value,
Right.
yeah.
I feel like the only real thing you could remember that would like make The Office like not like quickly rewatchable is the ending, because every episode is just so different. which I think is pretty cool. It doesn't follow like it follows a timeline, but not like a storyline, really, if that makes sense. Is that how I feel
Yeah.
about it?
Yeah, they're self-contained episodes. I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What does self-contained mean?
It means the story that they set up in that episode will be resolved by the end of that episode. The problem. I mean,
So
there are
like
some
a bunch of tiny storylines.
Yeah. I mean, they kind of did some overall gaining of the season, like with Jim and Pam and all those romances, but yes.
Yeah. I feel
Mostly
like
self-contained.
romance was like a big part of it, including like besides the comedy, obviously. But I feel like romance was really most of like the continuing storylines throughout the show.
Yeah.
Like well, I guess the only real big ones I can think of is like Michael and all
Holly.
of his people.
Michael and Holly, Jim
yeah.
and Pam, Dwight and Angela. Who else?
Oscar and the Senator is kind of like one. It wasn't like super big though.
Yeah.
Who was that one guy? So like after Michael had
Ryan
left.
and Kelly. Also, Ryan and Kelly.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Ryan is bad. You see, Ryan was like, I feel like his character was kind of like one of those ones where they just threw in whatever to make the story funnier. Because it didn't really make sense at all. Like when he first got there, he was very like well put together. He was calm. He was a good employee, and then he like worked his way up and got even better. And then suddenly he's just like this weird guy who works at like a freaking bowling alley, and he's really wanting Kelly back, and it's just, it doesn't make sense to me.
He goes kind of crazy, but in the end, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah. Wasn't he like doing drugs?
Yes.
Or like
yes.
I guess that could kind of make sense, but was he doing them while he was like, is that like, does that match up with him like slowly declining in work ethic?
I mean, I think he always kind of did drugs probably during college and stuff like that. Not the actor, of course, but the character.
Right.
And yeah, he kind of just went down the drain. Maybe after he lost his big job. That's probably when, because
you see, Ryan was my favorite character when he was like normal, and then he just got kind of like crazy, and I was like, whoa, hold up, what is happening?
The best characters are the crazy characters.
I mean, that's a good point. Like Dwight, absolutely insane, and I love him.
Creed is really funny and underrated in my opinion.
Wasn't he like gonna get fired in the very beginning, but they kept like no.
No.
Not
that I remember. No.
Well, there was that one guy. It was either gonna be Creed or that one guy, right? I don't remember.
Oh yeah. And then he got fired, and he never mattered anyway. So.
Yeah. I feel like I really loved like the warehouse workers. Like I would have loved to see more of them, even though we saw a lot of them. I'd probably watch a whole show just their point of view of things. I thought that they were really funny and cool, and I liked their relationship.
I do like Daryl and some of them, but
I really
they're
like
not my favorite.
I think Daryl was a good character.
Yeah, they're not my favorite part of the show, but you know.
No.
What was your first episode about?
The first episode?
Yeah.
Like of The Office or?
Oh, of your podcast.
My podcast? Oh. The first episode was me and Mina and I talking about Hamilton, the musical.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry for if there's actually anybody listening to this that we just went off track. Also, spoilers. We have not put that in front.
I'll put that in the description of this episode.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's also to be assumed. Oh, wait. It's fine. It's fine. I had a lot of, like, spitefulness about The Office before starting watching it, because I thought it was the most overrated thing ever.
Did our teacher, who we're not going to name for privacy's sake,
yeah,
convince you?
Um, yeah, actually. He told me I have a dry kind of humor, and I was
Oh
like,
yeah, I remember that. Yep.
wow. He was like, I think you'd like. I think he told me I'd like Parks and Rec.
Parks and
Actually,
Rec is really funny. Parks and
I
Rec is
haven't
really
watched that yet. But I should. Is it on
It's
Netflix?
made by the same people. It is. It is on Netflix.
Okay, I guess I'll have that show to start watching then. Um, man, that is this also. If you saw the first episode, that's the first. I mean, that's the same teacher that got us into Hamilton. Wow,
True.
he was a pretty big influence. Like we mentioned him in the last episode. We didn't say his name, obviously. But he was probably like one of my favorite teachers I've ever had. He had a really big influence on me, I feel like.
Not to shortcut your
That's for later time.
nice
we need
thing,
to get
but
back
we gotta
to
get back to
track.
whatever. This is. Yeah.
I'm great at getting off track, like a derailed train.
Mm.
So yeah, that's that. What am I gonna say? I have no idea. When did you start watching The Office?
A couple of years back.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. Did it take you a while to finish it? It took me months.
It took me a little bit because in the later seasons there is a bit of a downgrade in quality, especially after spoilers. Michael leaves the office. That was actually they wanted to end it there, but NBC, the people who own the place that made The Office and all these great shows, said you got to keep going, and they were forced to keep going and figure things out, and that's why there was such a dip in quality.
Yeah, it was kind of like a Yerkes-Dachshund curve. Do you know what that is?
Say that again?
Yerkes-Dachshund curve.
I do not.
Oh, well, it's also known as the bell curve, you know, where it goes up and then it goes down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that little curve thing. I feel like that's kind of how, like, The Office was. Like, in the beginning, it was kind of bad, and then it reached its peak, and then towards the end, it started to get, like, downgraded again.
It was only the first season that was a little bit... It was a different type of comedy.
Yeah, it was kind of... I didn't find it very funny. I mean, I could see how it was, like, humorous, but I didn't laugh, you know? It was one of those things.
I understand, yeah.
But the first season wasn't even long anyways. It was just, it was kind of like the introduction to the show.
The first episode of the first season is basically a shot-for-shot remake of the British Office. And,
I haven't seen that one. Is it, like, better?
It's good, but no, I wouldn't say it's better. It didn't last as long either. And the British Office has names who are quite famous now. Ricky Gervais, Martin Freeman, and then there's this other guy that... He was the guy, if you ever watched Pirates of the Caribbean, he was the guy who was constantly losing his eye.
Oh.
He played that version's show of Dwight.
Oh.
And it was basically just a shot-for-shot remake. And
really?
Martin Freeman, who's the guy who plays Watson in the Sherlock show, and Sherlock Holmes show, and Bilbo in the new Hobbit movies, he played the version of Jim. That show's version of Jim.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest.
The Office.
I don't know those actors.
I figured not. Basically, the American Office was for a little bit not an original show. It even had some of the same producers from the British Office, and Ricky Gervais and Stephen Merchant.
Do you think that when it was kind of like a remake thing, it was better than the parts where it was original, or do you think it was just like different?
It wasn't a remake. It was just a American version.
Yeah, the American version. What do you think about that?
I think it was better where it took new ideas and did things differently.
Right.
Without a doubt.
That's fair. I feel like it's always better to like have something new than like even like a lot of sequels to movies and stuff. Even if they're good movies, I don't really ever like them because I just love the original so much. I feel like you shouldn't be able to make a sequel without like the original and I'm not saying The Office is a sequel. It's not. Completely
Without a
different
doubt.
show.
Yeah, it is definitely not a sequel.
No, but like I feel like sequels to stuff shouldn't be allowed unless you get the original like movies like director and producer and the writers confirmation that you can do that, because a lot of the time it ruins the original. I feel like that's really happening in horror movies these days.
Those aren't sequels; they're called reboots in Hollywood.
No, I'm not talking about the reboots. I mean like
or
the
remakes.
Wrong Turn, like those sequels. That's like, I mean like sequels. Wrong Turn, the first like movie was absolutely brilliant and amazing, and then the sequels just kind of like made it, I don't know, just kind of weird. It made the whole franchise just kind of plummet.
Yeah,
I think the first two were kind of good. Have you seen Wrong Turn?
I have never. No,
Are you not a horror movie kind of guy?
not really. No.
No, that's fair.
I mean,
What
I
kind
watched
of like genres do you like?
sci-fi, fantasy, a bit of. I do love comedy quite a lot. I'm not against dramas, because like those are some really good movies. But yeah, thrillers are really good too. I really like a thriller suspense movie. Yeah, and I'm not against animated films. I quite love a lot of animated films, both child friendly and not.
Would The Office make like your top like 5 favorite shows?
No, it would not.
It would not.
No,
What about top 10?
maybe top 10.
What's your like top 5 then?
Top 5? Okay.
Yeah, or like top 3 if that's easier.
Okay, top 5. I can do top 5. Number 1, Avatar: The Last Airbender, of course. Number 2, I'd have to say I'd probably have to say The Clone Wars, Star Wars: The Clone Wars, really good show. Number 3, Chernobyl. It's this miniseries. It's great television. Number 4, number 4 and 5. It's where it gets a bit harder, but I can still rank them.
Right.
I gotta think through the shows I've seen. I mean, number 4. No, I wouldn't say that. Number 5, I can definitely name number 5, Mandalorian. I thought that was such a great show, and it was really well done. I guess number 4, by default, Game of Thrones, even though it kind of sucked by the end. Game of Thrones was really good.
I mean, like, I haven't seen any of those, but I mean, I've obviously heard of them because they're not like recluse.
Yeah.
They're pretty out there. Never watched them myself, but I give like lots of props to like directors and producers and all, like that whole team who can start a show and from start to finish, like it is really good, because like Game of Thrones, the ending.
There's a reason why it didn't stick. Do you know why it did not stick?
I do not, because I haven't seen it.
Okay, I can explain. It's just a general thing. Basically, they're based off these books, A Song of Ice and Fire books, and they ran out of books. So the author, who was not done finishing them, gave them basically an outline of what's going to happen, and then they just kind of made it for the rest. And that's why after season 4, they kind of deteriorated in quality, because they had nothing really to go on. And they're really good at it. The guys who made it are really good at adapting known works, but terrible at making their own.
Right.
That's why the last like last 3 seasons kind of sucked, or 4 seasons. I mean, 6 was good. Season 5 was not very good. Season 6 was a mixed bag. I enjoyed season 6. Season 7, season 8 were basically dumps. A lot of stuff.
Yeah. Do you think it would have been better for them to have been patient and waited?
No.
No?
It would have never. He would have waited. That was the original plan. They thought he was going to be done by the time they had caught up, but no. He was not. Yeah.
So it was the better choice to not have a bunch of angry fans.
I mean, waiting 10 years or how many times it would have taken him to write that book.
Right.
for another season would kind of
And everyone
suck.
finds something else that they like.
Yeah, and they'd move on and wouldn't care.
Right.
That would just kind of
That's
suck.
fair. Might as well
Yeah.
create something mediocre than nothing.
Yeah,
Um,
I guess.
yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess it really depends on like personal preference. Would you rather wait to make something you're proud of, or just make something to make something? That's
I
the
would rather
question
have the
of the day,
first.
people.
I would rather have the first option because Shigeru Miyamoto, this is a video game thing. He's the guy who owns Nintendo, if you've heard of them. His philosophy is a delayed game that is good is better than a rushed game that is bad. It is better to wait and to have a good product over a rush product that is not very good. I mean, I'm a bit different when it comes to movies, but yeah.
I completely agree with that, like morally, but then again, then you get into like business stuff and like, well, am I gonna be able to pay my bills if I don't make this?
They're
And I
rich.
feel
They're
like
fine. They're fine. They're rich.
I wish. I guess that's fair. It really depends on the person. What do you guys think? What would you choose in this situation or in a similar situation? Have you been in a similar situation? I doubt that anyone over 10 is listening to this, or like over 15. We got really off track there. That's okay. Back to the office. What's another question I can think of? I didn't write anything down this time.
Yeah, you did not make a script. I was too lazy to make a script because they just asked me on, and I know quite a bit. Well,
yeah.
She asked me on.
Oh yeah, back to me kind of being spiteful about The Office before watching it. I don't know the big reason why I was. I just felt like it was super overrated. Now, I still agree with my opinion. I don't think it's super overrated, but I feel like it's kind of overblown because there are a lot of shows out there that are good and even better than The Office. Like Nick said, it might not even make his top 10, maybe. What do you think about like in the comedy field, like comedy shows? How do you think it did?
Comedy?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it would crack my top 10. Probably top 5.
That's good. Yeah. Good for The Office. Yes, our opinions are super important here. I think our opinions are important, at least to ourselves. I haven't like watched. I'm not a big comedy person. Like I like comedy. I love making people laugh and I love laughing, but I'm not into watching it as much. I kind of like, I don't know why. It's like the only comedy show I've ever really watched, so my favorite comedy show. Out of the shows I've watched, I guess it'd make my top 5 probably, because I only have like 5 main shows I've watched. It would probably be number 4, because I think in order, I would have to say like Grey's Anatomy, American Horror Story, Supernatural, The Office, and then Dexter, if you've seen that.
Dexter's a good show. Grey's Anatomy and Supernatural went on too long. And there's another one you mentioned.
American Horror Story.
That's not bad.
I'm slightly offended. I don't feel like Grey's Anatomy is going on too long. I feel like Supernatural has kind of. Not gonna lie about that. It's ending next season though. Well, season 15, I think. Yes, if I'm correct. You see that I'm like very bipolar with that show. I can quickly get back into it, or I can like quickly leave it and be like, I can't even bring myself to watch another episode. I haven't finished season 14 because I can't bring myself to. It's not a bad show. It's just, it's a very bipolar show. I feel like everything about it is bipolar and random and stretched, and some stuff I really don't agree with. I think that season 14 and like season, I'd say even like 12 and up has kind of been like a burden to even try and watch. It doesn't make much sense to me. I'm just like, why would they definitely drug it out too long? You've watched Supernatural? That surprises me. That surprises me on a whole new level.
Oh, have I watched it?
Yeah.
No, I'm not watching
Well,
Supernatural.
then why did you say it was dragged out too long if you haven't watched it? Not that you're wrong.
I know for a fact they dragged it out too long. 15 seasons of the same show coming out with some new gimmick. I say that with air quotes. You cannot see it, but I'm literally doing air quotes right now.
Right.
That have been it's been dragged out too long. 15 seasons, like a new gimmick every season that's not even interesting anymore. It's like The Simpsons. They've dragged it out too long.
I think the director literally said they'd keep going as long as the Jared and Jensen wanted to keep going. Those are the Jared Padalecki and Jensen Ackles are the people who play Sam and Dean.
Main actors, yeah.
Those people. And I think they said they'd literally keep going as long as they wanted to keep going, which I feel like is a very thing to say. Gotta fix my audio.
And we gotta get back on track because we have been way off.
That's okay. We're just kind of talking about shows now. I guess to wrap this episode up, we'll talk about The Office because that's kind of what this episode was supposed to be about. It's okay. We got in some good content, I think. Let me think about a good question that we can wrap this up with. I guess, what do you think is like The Office's strongest like factor, and then it's like weakest points?
Its strongest factor?
Yeah.
How much it does the absurdist comedy bit. I really like its absurdist comedy. Its weakest factor,
Yes.
it's kind of lack of innovation. Because after a certain while, they just stopped innovating and making the same stuff, and that's when it kind of went downhill. I mean, it was still good, but it wasn't as good as it used to be when they were doing new stuff. It was intriguing, but now it's just, it kind of lost that flair of innovation.
I agree with that. Do you think it like became too predictable?
Yes.
When do you think that like the certain point was that it started to be like that?
After Michael left. Season 8 and Season 9 were incredibly predictable and not very fun to watch.
Yeah.
Even a little bit into Season 7. You were losing grip. I was losing grip.
I think that having the new managers was interesting, but I could have definitely lived without watching that.
They had to have some boss because Michael was done. He was leaving. It was over.
I know. I just wish it could have ended at that point.
That was the original plan, like I said, but NBC wanted to drag it out a bit more.
That's so awful. I hate that to a T. And to talk a little more about its best factor, do you have like any certain like favorite episodes or like favorite parts that you remember that really stick with you or make you laugh when you think about them?
Fire testing drug testing was hilarious. Scott's Tots is a really funny episode. Gosh. Fire drill. Scott's Tots is basically when Michael decided to promise these kids that he would pay for their college, but he was not able to do it at all, and he had to tell them, and it was so cringy. It was terrible.
Oh, yeah.
You wanted to look away, but you couldn't.
Yeah, it was like a car crash.
Yeah, it was also I believe it's called Fire Drill. I believe that those are the best episodes in the series. It's the one, remember?
Yeah, the one where like didn't like Dwight make a fake fire drill?
Yes.
And they all thought it was real. Gosh.
Not
Dwight
a fire.
is insane.
I mean, he made a real fire. It was in a trash can.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, and he gave Stanley a heart attack, and then they had to get all that.
Yeah.
Gay Witch Hunt is a episode that would definitely not be made today, given our current political climate, but is still, I believe, a very funny episode you can laugh about.
Do you have, out of like those couple ones that you just named, like an absolute favorite that you could watch like time and time again?
Fire drill or drug testing, either of those two.
What's the drug testing one again?
It's the one where Dwight finds marijuana in the parking lot, and he interviews and drug tests everyone.
Oh, I don't really remember that one. I'll admit, was that
It's in
towards like the
season 2.
beginning of the show?
It was in late season 2. So.
Oh yeah. During like the first few seasons, I kind of like would just put it on and try and sit through it, and then I'd get bored and I'd start doing something else. No offense to the show, but that's probably offensive. I started like really getting into it in the later seasons, and then I actually was pretty into it during its final seasons, even though they weren't the best. I was still able to like sit through them and laugh every once in a while. But yeah, so took me forever to get this dude onto the podcast because
No, it
I don't
didn't.
know, he thinks it's childish. Yeah, huh?
I did not think it's childish.
I told you that you should have a podcast actually before I even started my own.
I don't want a podcast. I don't feel like I have the time to do that because I have other things that I have school. I have things that I consider that would be more fun to me, like watching sports, playing video games, watching TV, stuff like that. So I don't really find the time. I do not call it childish. I actually watch a bit of podcasts that I do not name. And you did not have to beg.
Podcast?
Did I watch your episode?
Yeah.
Last episode?
Yeah.
It was intriguing. You know what you guys said about Hamilton? I thought it was intriguing.
Did you agree with our points? Well, fine. Did you watch Hamilton? We could have had you on that episode.
Disney? Oh, the one on Disney Plus? I did. Yeah, I watched it. I enjoyed it.
That's good.
Yeah. Begged me. If you would have had to beg me, I would have been on this final episode of the season. I don't know, podcast or I go off their little things.
Yeah, they have seasons. Well,
Yeah.
At least I consider mine to have a season. Well, I felt like I had to beg you to get on here. I had to call you.
You had
I didn't
to
have
message
to call
me.
anyone else.
You had to
Well, I
message
had
me
to like
because
invite you, and everyone else was telling well, actually like wanted to inquiry about being on it. To be fair,
Inquire.
I did post.
It's because I have things to do and my life is very complicated. So all that stuff, I gotta plan things out. That's the type of person I am. That's why.
You have to have a fancy businessman schedule.
Okay, that's one way of putting it.
That is, he had to cancel on our 4:00 appointment actually.
Because I had something that came up. That came up.
He's a fancy businessman. Probably.
It was unpredicted.
Oh gosh, I'm gonna get murdered. Anyways, thank you, Nick, for coming on this podcast and talking about The Office and some other stuff.
And you can invite me again if you want to. Probably not the next episode because that would be kind of unoriginal. But yeah.
I have a schedule too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, though, bye guys. I hope you enjoy. Wait a minute. I almost forgot. I can't believe I forgot. Nick, can you please walk over to your closet and open it?
Why?